Hey everybody, it's Tao at the Forge, and today we are going to be doing a deck tech for Commander, and today's deck tech is going to be, as you can see, Yuriko the Tiger Shadow. So Yuriko the Tiger Shadow, let's pull her up here, has Commander Ninjutsu. So she's a 3 mana, so 1 of anything, 1 blue, 1 black. She's a 1/3. And she says, whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, you reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. Okay, so basically you reveal it to everybody, but then you draw it. Okay, and then each opponent loses life equal to that card's converted mana cost. So you draw a card. If it's 1 mana, then everybody, each opponent, not you, but every one of your opponents loses 1 life. All right, so the other thing that's really cool about Yuriko is that you never actually cast her from the command zone because she's got this ability called Commander Ninjutsu. So for 1 blue and 1 black, you can return an unblocked attacker, not untapped, unblocked attacker you control to your hand. You put this card into the battlefield from your hand, and then basically you can replace it. So if I've got an attacker attacking and it's unblocked, which is very frequently the case, then what I can do is I can pay 1 blue, 1 black, and basically swap it. I can return that card to my hand and then put down Yuriko, the Tiger Shadow, and she's attacking instead, and she does 1 damage because she's a ninja, and because she's a ninja, then you draw the card, like you have to reveal the top card of your library, you draw it, you put it into your hand, and all of your opponents deal damage or get damage equal to that card's converted mana cost. Okay. So what our plan is basically have ways to get unblocked attackers through. So we want a lot of creatures with evasion, okay, especially small evasive creatures. Okay, so that means things with flying, death touch, unblockable, shadow, shroud, things like that. Or not shroud, just shadow. All right, so things like that. All right. The next thing we want to do is we want to have a whole crap ton of ninjas. Right, because every time ninjas cut, so if like 3 ninjas do damage and Yuriko's on the board, then you get to reveal the top 3 cards of your library, you put them into your hand, and then your opponents take that much damage as the mana cost for all those cards. Okay, the last thing we want to do, or the second thing, sorry, is that we want to have a lot of high mana cards. So just pound our opponents to do a lot of damage to them, right? But the problem is that we do not want to actually ever cast those high mana cards. So we're going to draw them, but we may have to end up discarding them. All right, so it just depends what's going on. And then the last thing we want to do is we want to control the top of our library. So if we can, we want to be able to do things like scry or put cards back on top of our library and be able to put those high mana cards back on the top of our library to keep revealing them over and over again. All right, so let's take a look, and basically all of our cards are going to fall into one of those 3 categories or some form of protection. Okay, so we got Yuriko. Oh, I should mention also that an amazing thing about Yuriko is that she does not have to pay the commander tax. Right, well, she does if you ever cast her, but you never cast her, right? You get the Commander Ninjutsu, right? And because she's never actually cast from the grave or from your command zone, you can put her out again and again and again for 1 blue and 1 black every single time, right? So let's say you put her out, she gets killed, she goes back to the command zone, you ninjutsu her out again, it still costs 1 blue, 1 black, right? You don't have to pay commander tax for her unless you actually cast her. Right, but the Commander Ninjutsu is an ability of hers. It does not count as casting, so there's no commander tax for her as long as you continue to use Ninjutsu. All right, let's take a look at some of the cards. So we start off with cards like Ornithopter, 0 mana, 0/2. You can put this out. Ideally, you would like to get her Yuriko down and attacking on the 2nd turn, right? But Ornithopter is a great way to do that. So you can put Ornithopter down on turn 1. Right, and then like everyone's gonna ignore like a 0/2. Like who's gonna waste their targeted removal on a 0/2 flyer, right? So, anyways, that it's a great include. A lot of people underestimate this card. Okay, Fairy Seer is our 1 mana 1/1 with flying. So again, 1 mana 1/1, and there's that scry ability that really helps us. So then, let's say for instance we've got a blue and a black, like a blue and black mana coming out. Turn 1, we play blue into Fairy Seer. We can scry and try and get one of those big fat cards on top of our library. All right. Next thing is Lurker, so again a 1/1 that just can't be blocked. It has Megamorph, but you're never going to cast it for its Megamorph, or I guess rarely, right? If you have it in turn 1, you just want to get it unblocked. Mausoleum Wander, another 1/1 with flying. right? So yeah, like it has other abilities. Okay, so counter target instant or sorcery spell unless its controller plays X, right? So later on it can be a good counter, but ideally we just want it for its 1/1 ability. But it's nice that it has the other abilities. Okay, Mystical Herald, another 1/1, can't be blocked. Ruthless Ripper, another 1/1 with Death Touch. So you can see, you can put these things down, like Ruthless Ripper, and you're going to, attack in. Most likely one of your opponents does not have any creatures at all on turn 1. But if they do, then, go for a Death Touch and, like see if they're willing to take 1 damage. Most people are, right? Especially if they've never played against your deck before. Okay, so Siren Storm Tamer and 1/1 with flying, so there's the evasion, but it also has the ability to counter target spell or ability that targets you or a creature you control. And anybody who's ever played against Siren Storm Tamer knows that this is just a pain in the ass. Okay, so we got Slither Blade, another 1/1, a 1/2 for 1, and it just can't be blocked. Okay, it's just like strictly better than, some of these other things, that are just 1/1s for 1s. There's a 1/2, right? Unblockable. Spectral Sailor, a 1/1 for 1 with flash and flying. So again, you can do this on your opponent's end step. So right before it's your turn, you flash him in. It gives your opponents a harder time to deal with him, and then you can get Yuriko down on the next turn. Okay, Wingcrafter, a 1/1 for 1 with Soul Bond, and basically what this means is that when Wingcrafter comes into the battlefield, you can pair it with another unbonded creature. All right, and then what happens is, as long as it's paired with another creature, both creatures have flying, right? So you got like another creature out, you bring it in, it can be soul bonded. You don't have to soul bond it, but if you do, then both creatures end up with flying, and so now you have 2 evasive creatures. Okay, we got a Baleful Strix, so flying Death Touch that replaces itself, so when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card. Departed Deckhand, I'm at 2 mana, 2/2. So when it becomes the target of a spell, you sacrifice it, but it can't be blocked except by spirits. So again, is an evasive creature. Dimir Infiltrator is a 1 blue and 1 black. Another unblockable 1/3. Later on, you can transmute it if you really need to transmute it, but overall, like usually, I just use this for getting the unblockable creature down. Okay, Invisible Stalker, 2 mana, 1/1 with Hexproof unblockable. That's going to be kind of a killer. Nether Trader, 2 mana, 1/1 with Haste and Shadow. Okay, so Shadow can only be blocked or be blocked by other creatures with Shadow. And really, like, how many people have Shadow? Right? Seriously, like how many other creatures are playing creatures with Shadow? So when another creature is put into your graveyard from play, you may pay black, and if you do, return Nether Trader from your graveyard to play. All right, and this allows you to actually just get some getting a recurring creature back. Right, so you put this in, someone kills it, then later on another creature dies, and you bring this back, right, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's just see. Okay, so Snapcaster Mage. So Snapcaster Mage is kind of an extra one. You don't technically need to have him, right? And it is pretty expensive. I have it in here just because it's nice to be able to get another casting of a spell, right? But you technically don't really have to have it. He's just good value. So 2 mana, 2/1 with flash, and when he comes into the battlefield, target instance or sorcery card in your graveyard gets flashback until end of turn. Okay, then we got Tetsuko Umazawa Fugitive. Then creatures you control, power or toughness 1 or less, can't be blocked. So it gives her unblockable and gives everyone else unblockable. Or all your other things with 1. You can see most of our stuff is just 1, right? So 1/1, 1/2s, like stuff like that. So almost everything you have will be unblockable. Okay, we got Aerial Guide. When Aerial Guide attacks, another target attacking creature gains flying till end of turn. So it also has evasion, but it also gives evasion. Okay, and that is almost all of our cheap mana evasive creatures. All right, then we're going to go into the ninjas. Okay, and the ninjas are very often kind of overpowered, right? But they're overcosted, I should say, right? So a lot of times what they have is, you'll see like these are all the ninjas here, and they're actually quite expensive. But what we're going to do is we're going to try and get around their cost by using ninjutsu. Okay, so we got like Miss Sindit Naga. This is maybe not the best example, or the best example of ninjutsu, but basically has the same ability as Yuriko. Right, so for 3 mana, you can bring back another card that's attacking and put this in, and whenever Miss Naga deals combat damage to a player, create a copy a token that's a copy of Mist Syndicate Naga. So basically, every time it does damage to someone, you can basically make a copy of that Naga, and then when those copies make copies, and you can make copies, and if your opponent doesn't deal with it, then you got like millions of ninjas coming up. That could actually be like a seriously broken card. Okay, we got Mistblade Shinobi. So here's an example. It's a 3 mana 1/1, but if you use the Ninjutsu ability, it's only 1 mana. So when Mistblade Shinobi deals combat damage to a player, you may return target creature that player controls to its owner's hand. So they put down a creature, right? You attack with your evasive unblockable 1/1. You at the last minute, you ninjutsu him in, and then you put his creature back. You put your opponent's creatures back into their hand, and basically, like, this could be super annoying, right, to your opponent, right? And then basically you can just play your 1/1 evasive back again next turn. Okay, we got Nirok Invisimancer. So it's unblockable, which is really great. This is another one of our evasive creatures. When it enters the battlefield, target creature is unblockable this turn, so it just gives something else unblockable. That might be good if you already have a ninja on the battlefield, right, that you want to swing in with again, so it gives another one of your ninjas unblockable. Okay, we got Phantom Ninja. So a Phantom Ninja can't be blocked. It's a 3 mana 2/2. This doesn't have any special abilities, but it is a ninja. And so if this deals combat damage to a player, then you reveal the top card of your library, and then your opponents take damage equal to the mana cost of that card, and then you put it into your hand. Now, one thing is that you are going to have so many cards because like it's just ridiculous that you're going to have like you just draw so many cards that you actually don't really need very much card draw in this at all. Okay, so anyways, we got Throat Seeker. So Throat Seeker is a 3 mana 3/2 ninja. Unblocked attacking ninjas you control have lifelink, right? So that means even if you do the ninjutsu, they're still unblocked and attacking, right? And then they have lifelink, so when they hit their opponents, right, then you just gain back a crap ton of life. Okay, we got Walker of the Secret Ways, a 3 mana 1/2. This is one of the less maybe the less good ninjas. Whenever Walker of the Secret Way deals combat damage to a player, look at that player's hand. And then for 2 mana, you can return a target ninja you control to its owner's hand. That's actually, okay, play it only during your turn, right? So that's probably the only thing that's really great, all right? Because there are some things like, where was it here? Target creature is unblockable. So like, let's say for instance, I've got something with, like Mistblade Shinobi. So I ninjutsu'd it in. Now I've got a 1/1 on the battlefield, but let's say all of our opponents have blockable creatures. So basically I wouldn't be able to put this down again. Well, if I have a Walker of the Secret Ways, I can return the Mistblade Shinobi to my hand, right? And then I can actually then go and attack again and ninjutsu it again, right? And then sneak it through that way. All right, so it does have Walker of the Secret Ways does have some abilities, but it's not the greatest one of the ones you have. Okay, so Azra Smokeshaper is a 4 mana but 2 ninjutsu. So when Azra Smokeshaper enters the battlefield, target creature you control gains indestructible. So that's actually pretty sweet. Okay, Ingenious Infiltrator, 4 mana, but you can get it out for 2 ninjutsu. Whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. So again, you're just drawing so many cards. Moonblade Shinobi, 4 mana, but 3 for ninjutsu. When Moonblade Shinobi deals combat damage to a player, you create a 1/1 blue illusion creature token, and with flying, and so you got an evasive flyer, and then you can ninjutsu another ninja in later. Okay, Ninja of the Deep Hours is probably the most popular ninja, so it costs 3 and a blue for a 2/2, but actually only usually 1 and a blue. With ninjutsu, whenever Ninja of the Deep Hours deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card, another card draw engine. Say Fallen Shinobi is 5 mana, 3 blue black, but you can actually cheat it out for 4 with ninjutsu. So whenever Fallen Shinobi deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles the top 2 cards of their library. Until the end of turn, you may play those cards without paying their mana costs. That is seriously could be so broken. So broken. Like, think about like all the things that you could cast with that. Like, that's just ridiculous, right? Like, like this is Commander, and you can like cast like 2 cards out of your opponent's hand. Like, that's so ridiculous. And then you could go like Walker of the Secret Ways, return it to your hand, right? And then ninjutsu it back out again. This could be like so ridiculous. And it also does 5 damage too, so that's not nothing. Okay, so Higir, the Still Wind. is a 5 mana, so 3 and 2 blue, but you can cheat it out for 2 and 2 blue. Whenever Higure the Steel Wind deals combat damage to a player, you may search your library for a ninja card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. So that's a little bit of deck thinning, a little more card draw, and you just basically get to have it. And then target ninja you control is unblockable this turn for 2 mana. Right, so if you've got, again, like all these other ones, like, you know, Ingenious Infiltrator, Fallen Shinobi, things like that, and you're like need to sneak them through, then Higure the Steel Wind can give them unblockable. Right, so you got Ninja of the New Moon. Ninja, it's a 5 mana, so 3 and 2 black. Ninjutsu 4, and basically that's it. But it's a 6/3, so it does 6 damage. Right, so that's actually, again, pretty sweet, but you know, just kind of meh. But you know, it's still there because it's a ninja, and it's also a spirit, right? So things like Mausoleum Wanderer, right? So whenever another spirit enters the battlefield under your control, Mausoleum Wanderer gets +1/+1 till end of turn. So you know, it could be a little bit good, you know, but we mainly want it because it's a ninja. All right, so then where are we? We got Throat Slitter. Throat Slitter is so good. So 4 mana and 4 and a black, so 5 total. For 2 and a black, we can use our ninjutsu, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, destroy target non-black creature that player controls. So you just blow up creatures, right? And then again, you can bring it back to your hand or keep attacking, and so on and so forth. You got Ink Eyes, Servant of Oni, 6 mana. We're getting up to the big ninjas now. You could cheat it out for 5. Whenever Ink Eyes, Servant of Oni deals combat damage to a player, you may put target creature card from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. So anything in the graveyards, right, that can become your creatures, right? Again, could be totally broken. Okay, Silent Blade Oni. Getting to the really big ones now. This costs 7 mana, 3 and 2 blue and 2 black. You can cheat it out for 6 mana, so 4 and a blue black. Whenever Silent Blade Oni deals combat damage to a player, look at that player's hand. You may cast a non-land card in it without paying that card's mana cost. Okay, so again, like those things are just kind of ridiculous. Okay, those are our ninjas. So what are the big cards that we're looking for? Okay, so one of them, Emrakul, the Promised End. We're never really planning on actually ever casting Emrakul, the Promised End, but we do want it because of its 13 mana cost, and if you can reveal it from the top of your library, then basically you can pummel each one of your opponents for 13 mana. The other card, big one we have, is Draco. So 16 mana. Again, we never really plan on playing Draco. We just want it for its mana cost, which is 16, right? So you can, if this happens to be on top of your library, you can hit your opponents for 16 damage, and that's for each opponent. Now, I will warn you, if you get your opponents with something like this on, like, say, turn 2, because it's possible, right? So you could go turn 1 Ornithopter, turn 2 Yuriko, hit and reveal Draco, and you hit everyone's for 16. Around the table, that would count as 48 total damage, right? Which is just devastating. You are going to draw a crap ton of hate. Everyone's coming after you, so just be ready for that. All right. Okay, we'll get into the spells afterwards, but, well, I guess we can go here. So we got our Brainstorm. Okay, just draw 3 cards and put 2 on top of your hand. Now, I already told you guys earlier that we already draw a crap ton of cards with this deck, so we don't really need this for the card draw. But what we want to do is put the top 2 cards of your on top of your library in any order. So imagine this, right? We go turn 1, right? We have our, I don't know, not invisible stalker, Ornithopter. Turn 2, we attack with the Ornithopter and sneak out Yuriko, and then we got Draco, right? So that's 16, right? If you just happen to have Draco, there's 16 damage right there. Okay, turn 3, and then we can put out the Ornithopter again, right? Turn 3, we attack again, right, with the Ornithopter. Even if our opponents kill Yuriko, it doesn't matter because we can ninjutsu her again. But before we do that, we Brainstorm, and then we draw 3 cards and put 2 cards, and one of the cards we put back on top of our library is Draco, right? So our opponents get hit for 16 again, so a total of 32 damage. Right, so you can see like that can be totally broken. Okay, so Mystical Tutor, right? So we're gonna search for a library for an instant or sorcery card, reveal that card, shuffle your library, put it on top of it. So then let's say you got turn 3 now, we can also go Mystical Tutor, right, and get the Brainstorm back, and then put Draco back on top of our library, and so on and so forth, right? Same thing with Ponder. Look at the top 3 cards, put them back in any order, and then you may shuffle your library, but you don't want to shuffle your library, right? So you put those big cards, those fat cards, back on top of your library, because it doesn't say, Brainstorm, for instance, doesn't say you have to put one of the cards you drew on top. It just says put 2 cards from your hand. Ponder is a little bit different, right? So it says 3 cards, look at top 3 cards of your library, then put them back in any order. Okay, be careful. If you put Draco on top, then you'll end up drawing it. So put it on second from the top. Right? Okay, so Swan Songs, just a little bit of evasion. So counter target enchantment, instant, or sorcery spell. Controller creates a 2/2 blue bird. Okay, counter spells, just straight up countering. Cyclonic Rift returns all non-land permanents, or target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand. But for 7, if the game even goes that long, then you can return basically all non-land permanents to that are not under your control to their opponent to your hands. Doomblade is just a form of removal. Familiar's Ruse, again, in order to cast... Okay, so it's just a counter spell for 2 mana, but you have to return a creature you control to your hand. But very often we want to do that because otherwise our ninjas might not be able to attack, right? So what we want to do is if you've got a ninja that you can't attack with, then hold this up, right? Then your opponent plays something, you use Familiar's Ruse to counter it, you bring one of your ninjas to a hand, then you swing with everything, and then then you're attacking again. Right, so we got Malicious Affliction, 2 mana. Basically, whenever you cast Malicious Affliction, if a creature died this turn, you may copy Malicious Affliction and may choose a new creature target for the copy. Destroy target non-black creature. Right, so potentially you can destroy 1 thing, but you can also destroy potentially 2 things. Okay, Mana Leak is just a 2 mana. This one is not the best in Commander because very often people have lots and lots of mana in Commander. In late game, it's not that important, but still, like, being able to counter something is pretty good. Same thing with Negate. Hero's Downfall can destroy target creature or planeswalker. Murderer is another destroy target creature at instant speed. We have Cryptic Command. So Cryptic Command is, just an amazing card, and it's gone down in price in recent years. Like, this used to be like a $65 card, and now it's, I think, like $20 or something. So, I mean, like, it's actually pretty sweet. Right, and you can counter a spell, return target permanent to its owner's hand, tap all your opponent's creatures, right, and then or draw a card and pick any 2 of those. This card is ridiculous if you can get it off, and you can do it at instant speed. Okay, so you got Murderous Cut. So here's the thing with Murderous Cut: if you don't have like Emrakul or Draco, you can also use Murderous Cut, because Murderous Cut counts as a 5 mana card, but you can cast it for a lot cheaper by using its delve ability, right? So you can just like exile stuff from your graveyard to pay for its delve cost, and so you can still use it. Okay, same thing with like Silumgar's Command. Well, not same thing because it doesn't have delve, but Silumgar's Command, 5 mana card. So yeah, you're not hitting for 12 damage or 14 damage or whatever every single turn, but still hitting for 5 damage every turn, and you keep putting this on top of your hand, like on top of your library, and drawing it over and over again. That could be totally broken. And you can do this with actually all of these cards that are coming up. So Commandeer, 7 mana. So hitting every time a ninja does damage, you could hit him for 7 mana. And the awesome thing about Commandeer is you can just discard 2 blue cards from your hand instead of paying its mana cost and actually cast it. And its ability is awesome. So gain control of target non-creature spell. You may choose new targets for it. Right? So for instance, if someone casts, like, let's say they cast a Cyclonic Rift, right, and they overload it, right, you can discard 2 blue, and remember, you're gonna have so many cards, it doesn't even matter. So you can discard 2 blue, use Commandeer, and take over their Cyclonic Rift and put everything back into and do it to them. Right, so that could just be totally game ending, or someone casts like an Ugin or their own Emrakul, or like one of those whatever cards that you can commandeer and just take it over. All right. The only thing is you can't take creatures. All right, so just watch out for that. You got Dig Through Time, 8 mana, but it also has Delve. Right, look at the top 7 cards of your library, put 2 of them into your hand, the rest on the bottom. Okay, again, we mainly want this, not really for the card draw, but just because it's 8 mana, and it's something we could eventually cast. Treasure Cruise, again, 8 mana, Delve ability, Temporal Trespass, 11 mana with Delve. And so, basically, what this allows us to do is just get, like, potentially actually use these cards. Right, like late game, if it goes late, you could use Temporal Trespass to get further, but you can hit your opponents for 11 damage with these. So in total, with our Ninja Punishment type cards, we got Draco, Emrakul, Temporal Trespass, Treasure Cruise, Dig Through Time, Commandeer, Silumgar's Command, Murderous Cut, and Cryptic Command. Those are the things we really want to hit them with. Okay, now here comes the expensive cards that are really going to be the killer. So of course we got a Soul Ring. That's going to just help us get stuff out quickly or to ramp our mana. But to be honest, we actually don't really need it, right? Like, because we can cheat so much of our stuff out with Yuriko with all the ninjutsu abilities that we don't actually need the soul ring, and it's something you could take out if you wanted something, you know, to go a bit bigger. All right, but nonetheless, it's still pretty good. I'm not going to say no to it. We got Umazawa's Jite. So whenever equipped creature deals combat damage, put 2 charges on the Jite. So you can remove a charge counter from Umazawa's Jite, and equipped creature gets +2/+2 till end of turn. Target creature gets -1/-1 till end of turn, and you can also gain 2 life. Your equip cost is 2 for this. Okay, so let's say you get a creature out. It's one of your unblockables, right? You can put attack. You can equip this onto your creature, get, you know, swing through, and then do some damage. And basically, Umazawa's Jite, like, you can return it to your hand. But when you return that creature to your hand, Umazawa's Jite will stay onto the battlefield, right? When it stays on the battlefield, it still has the counters, right? And then you can still activate its ability. It doesn't say it has to be done at sorcery speed, right? It's not like the equip speed, right? You can do this at any time. So if your opponent puts down like a 2/2 or a 4/1 or something like that, you can give it -1/-1 till end of turn, and you can just like basically just kill it right away. This card can be so broken. Okay, we got Sword of War and Peace. Now, why this sword, you might ask? Well, okay, so your creature gets +2/+2, has protection from red and white. All right, so basically, like, one of the big things is we don't want our creatures to get burned or oblivion ringed or things like that, right? But also, whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, Sword of War and Peace deals damage to that player equal to the number of cards in their hand, which is fine. But then you gain 1 life for each card in your hand, and you're going to have so many cards in your hand all the time. So this is going to help you stay in the game by just helping you gain life, because it cares about how many cards you have in your hand. Okay, now the big heavy hitters. We got Sensei's Divining Top. For 1 mana, you can pay 1. Look at the top 3 cards of your library and then put them back in any order. So basically what you can do is look at the top 3 cards and find the highest mana cost one, and basically just put that on top of your library whenever you need it. Now, if you don't have any ninjas that are going in to hit, then you could go look for a ninja, and basically it's a constant scry, basically. Okay, and then you can also tap it, draw a card, and then put Sensei's Divining Top on top of its owner's library. So, you know, if you really need it, you can use it to draw that card, you know, and then put it on top of the library and then cast it again next turn. Okay, Scroll Rack. So Scroll Rack is 2 mana and 1 and tap. Choose a number of cards in your hand and set those cards aside. So you have to do this, and it's kind of weird, but you choose, let's say I choose 3 cards in my hand and I put them on the side. Then I put an equal number of cards from the top of your library into your hand. Now it's weird because it doesn't say draw those cards, it just says put them in your hand, right? So you're not actually drawing cards. That could be important because there's some cards that say, like, you know, every time you draw a card you lose a life or something like that, but you're not actually drawing a card here. Okay, then you put the cards set aside this way on top of your library in any order. So basically with Scroll Rack, I could take however many cards I want. Like, if I could take even all 7 cards out of my hand if I want, right? Put them on the side, draw a new 7, and then put the old 7 from my hand back into the library in any order I want. And basically what we're going to do with this is, once we get one of those big fatties out, like Draco, Emrakul, Dig Through Time or something like that, we're just going to use Scroll Rack to constantly put it back on top of our library. So every time we hit with our ninjas, that's what we're going to, then we can be guaranteed to get those big damages through. Alright, but it is Scroll Rack, like, that is actually a pretty pricey card, as you can see. It's like, you know, it's like $100 card, you know, but I would say it is a card that, like, does the deck work without it? Yes, it does work without it. But there are some things like Snapcaster Mage you could do, you know, it's not going to make a huge difference. Something like Scroll Rack could really, like, if you're, like, it would, like, just change tiers, basically. Like, having Scroll Rack in this deck just brings it, like, to the unbelievably powerful level, right? Not having it makes it just powerful, but just not unbelievably powerful. Okay, then we got things like Search for Azcanta. So search for Azcanta, look at the top card of your library. Okay, so we got where was I? Sorry, I got interrupted there. We got Search for Azcanta. So beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. You may put it into your graveyard. Then if you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard, basically it gives you a little bit of a scry ability on your upkeep. Alright, and then Arcane Adaptation is our other enchantment that we have, and basically you choose a creature type. You're always going to choose Ninja. Creatures you control of the chosen type, basically all creatures you control are of that chosen type. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. Now here's the thing, like let's say you went turn 1 Ornithopter, turn 2 turn 1 you might even go Ornithopter Fairy Seer, then turn 2 you bring out your Yuriko, and then turn 3, right, you've got potentially Arcane Adaptation. Now when you hit them and you got Arcane Adaptation, like the Ornithopter and the Fairy Seer become ninjas as well. So like when all 3 of them hit, right, then you're looking at the top 3 cards of your library, you're drawing all the cards from that, and then all your opponents deal damage or get damage equal to the converted mana cost of those 3 cards, right? So this could be just like, almost game ending, depending on what you drew. Okay, finally, we've got the lands. So the lands are Command Tower. That's basically a given. Now, we basically don't want tapped lands as much as possible. Now sometimes it's unavoidable, but in general we want to avoid tapped lands because we really want to be able to get Yuriko out as soon as possible. Main reason being that this deck is going to give us so much hate, or it's going to draw so much hate. Like people are just going to come at you with not like because they know it's going to be the end if they don't deal with it right away. All right, so okay, Command Tower, Creeping Tar Pit. It comes in tap, but it's a dual land, and also can basically makes an it can become a 3/2 blue and black elemental creature turn that can't be blocked. So later on, it can also become an unblockable creature, like in case of a board wipe. Okay, we got Dimir Aqueduct. Okay, comes in tap, but also is 2. Basically, you have to return another land to the battlefield, but then gives you blue-black. Drowned Catacombs. This is like a have land, so you have to have an island or a swamp, but you're almost always going to have islands and swamps. Okay, Evolving Wild, Flooded Strand. So we got some fetch lands here. Forge of Heroes. Choose target commander that entered the battlefield this turn. Put a +1/+1 counter if it's a creature, and loyalty counter. So basically, can give you +1/+1 on your commander whenever you use it. Okay, so Halimar Depths comes in tap, but look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put them back in any order. That's actually pretty worth it. Right, being able to like have this come in, like especially if it's like not turn 1 or 2, right? Then being able to basically scry the top card is super good. We've got 9 islands, 1 isolated watchtower. You can scry, you can pay and scry with it, and if you get a basic land, you put it onto the battlefield tapped. Otherwise, activate this ability only if an opponent controls at least 2 more lands than you. This could not happen. It usually doesn't happen very often because you draw so many cards, but it could happen. Memorial to Folly. You can return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, and this is in case you get board wiped. All right, so Misty Rainforest, another fetch land to get what you need. Mortuary Mire, when it enters the battlefield, you can put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. So once again, this could be like, again, if you got board wiped and you just need creatures, like that could happen. Or if they milled you, like so for instance, if you got milled and Emrakul's in your graveyard or Draco's in your graveyard or something like that, then you can basically use Mortuary Mire to put it back on top of your hand or on top of your library. Mutavault can become a 2/2 creature, which just happens to be a ninja as well. But later on, like your opponents sometimes forget about your creature lands, right? Anyways, Nephalia Drown Yard. Target player puts the top 3 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. This is not that important, but later on could actually help you with your delve. Okay, so Polluted Delta is another fetch. Reflecting Pool, so add to your mana 1 mana of any type that a land you control could produce. So basically this is a dual land for you. Reliquary Tower is super good because it means you can basically never have to discard all those extra cards that you're drawing, and you're going to draw a ton of them. You've got River of Tears, so add blue to your mana pool. If you played a land this turn, add black. So here's the thing, what if I plan on playing a land but I need the blue? Well, you just tap the blue first and then play the land, right? So basically you can just get blue or black from this whenever you want. Now, Soldavi Excavations is kind of a rare card. It's like a super, it's not rare, but I mean, it's like no one ever knows about this card. And like at my LGS, like they'd almost never heard of it, and you know, I think I ended up getting it for like 25 cents or something. But anyways, when Soldavi Excavations comes into play, sacrifice an untapped island, right? So okay, so you put this in, you have to sacrifice an island. But then whenever you tap this, and it's not even it doesn't even come in tapped, you can just tap this right away and you get colorless and a blue, right? So it basically replaces itself every time anyways, right? So that losing an untapped island doesn't do anything, right? And then after that, you can pay 1 and tap it and look at the top 2 cards of your library. You may put that card on the bottom of your library. So basically, you can scry, right? Okay, so we got look at the top card of your library. You can put that card on top of your library. So yeah, it allows you to have an extra scry, and we really like to scry in this deck. Okay, we got Sunken Ruins. So basically, it's a filter land, 2 swamps, Tainted Isles. So add 1 colorless, or you can add a blue or a black, and only if you control a swamp. But that you're going to almost always have swamps, right? Temple of Deceit. Okay, you enter the battlefield tapped. Okay, but then it's a dual land. Terramorphic Expanse to help you find another swamp or an island. Teleria West, basically you can transmute later if you really need to transmute, but also you know, it's just that basically it can be a blue, and you know, it's nice to have just being able to transmute if you really need to find one of those 3 mana cards, right? And then Watery Grave, a dual land, like a pain land, and that is pretty much the whole deck. We've gone for like almost half an hour here explaining it, but essentially, like, this deck is super. I think it's actually very competitive. It comes out, but it draws a ton of hate. So, you know, be prepared for everyone to come out against you. The cool thing is that even if your Yuriko gets countered, it doesn't matter. If it gets killed, it doesn't matter, because you can just ninjutsu it over and over and over again, right? So, anyways, that is the deck. Let me know if you think there are other cards that might be better in here. Like if there's something you would like to see proposed. If you do like the deck, then don't hesitate to give me a lights up, a thumbs up, like the video, or subscribe to the channel. It really helps a lot to help promote my channel. But that is it for the day. Hopefully you like Yuriko, the Tiger Shadow. Thanks for watching. See you next video.